Chapter 31, Undead Maiden. Having picked out that finger bone, the little skeleton fumbled through the pile of remains once more, to dig out some other short bones that looked like sharp teeth to replace its original knees and arms. Those bones became part of the little skeleton with the help of the dark energy. While the little skeleton was selecting appropriate bones, the lightning rat was fighting a bitter fight. Thanks to the diversion created by the thunder shadow image, the lightning rat was snatched from the jaws of death several times. That being said, every time the lightning rat came close to the human-shaped skeleton, the latter would sense the former's presence and react swiftly and violently. Relying on the thunder flash, the lightning rat could teleport and appear at difficult corners to unleash a thunder slash. However, whenever the lightning rat managed to hit its target, the human-shaped skeleton would quickly tear the lightning rat apart. One life for another. The gap in abilities between the lightning rat and the human-shaped skeleton was significant. Normally, the lightning rat would not stand a chance against the human-shaped skeleton. It was fortunate that Su Ping could bring the lightning rat back to life endlessly. As long as the lightning rat could inflict harm on its enemy, the latter would be tortured to death sooner or later. The human-shaped skeleton was ferocious, but its intelligence was low. Taking advantage of the revivals, the lightning rat had been depleting the human skeleton's energy, but the latter did not stop nor intend to flee. A few minutes later, over half of the dark, foul air around the human-shaped skeleton had been reduced and the skeleton was moving slowly with less precision than before. At this moment, Su Ping perceived an intense fighting desire from the little skeleton. In the next moment, all Su Ping could see was a small, black figure hurrying toward the battlefield. Su Ping fixed his eyes on the dark figure. It was the little skeleton. But the little skeleton was different from before. Its height was the same, but now it was surrounded by the dark air. Its arms, knees, and other bones were sharper and darker. The biggest difference was how fast the little skeleton could run. Before, the little skeleton had to stumble around. At the moment, it was walking with flying feet, almost as fast as the lightning rat. The human-shaped skeleton was being badgered by the two lightning rats. Disturbed by the thunder shadow image, the human-shaped skeleton had lost its bearings. When the little skeleton joined the fight, the human-shaped skeleton felt something. It turned around, let out a bellow, and charged toward the little skeleton. The little skeleton was not something that could be ignored or stamped to death anymore. Faced with the human-shaped skeleton, the little skeleton turned around and avoided the strike with considerable agility. It escaped the first strike, only to be smashed into pieces by the human-shaped skeleton that waved its other arm in a very tricky position. Among all the skeleton bones scattered on the ground, several pieces were quite firm. They were still intact after falling to the ground. Alerted by the system, Su Ping knew that the little skeleton had died and could not reassemble. So, he had to choose to revive it. Even though the little skeleton lost its life within seconds, compared with before, it had already progressed notably. With the help of the lightning rat shadow, the frantic lightning rat attacked quickly. Several thunder slashes landed on the human-shaped skeleton, diminishing a large amount of the dark, foul air. 5 minutes later, with the concerted efforts of the little skeleton and the lightning rat, the human-shaped skeleton was slain, releasing its dark, foul air. The little skeleton began to scavenge for pieces among the remains. Worn out, the lightning rat and Su Ping sat by the side to have a rest. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a breeze was felt. Su Ping checked the surroundings as he enjoyed his rest. All of a sudden, he noticed some darkness surging over from the depth of the woods. When the darkness was hundreds of meters away from him, he realized it was a dark tide. Shrieks and howls seemed to come from the billowing black waves of smoke. Some horrifying figures floating around in the dark smoke were faintly visible. What is that? Su Ping was startled. The next second, the tide swept across. Su Ping felt chills all over his body and his life was being drained. Right after, he appeared in the dark revival space. Revival on the spot. Su Ping did not choose to revive at another random place because the dark smoke's nature piqued his interest. As soon as he was brought back to life, he saw the black smoke was still spreading. Before he could observe closely, he once again felt a chill creeping over and then found himself in the revival space a second time. Revive? Su Ping decided to stay on the spot. He refused to be misled by fallacies. After more than a dozen revivals, when Su Ping could breathe again, he heard a gentle gene sound coming from the dark smoke. A moment later, the dark smoke suddenly dispersed. Su Ping saw a ghost-like figure flying over. The face belonged to a breathtaking beauty. She was completely flawless, the most beautiful girl that Su Ping had ever seen. However, from her chest down, the girl's body was made up of dried bones. Su Ping thought he could see the blood-red internal organs and dark smoke surges. The girl in the dark smoke was pale and her delicate face was devoid of emotions. She sized Su Ping up and down. Her green eyes spoke of her interest and exotic charm. Su Ping was fearless. After all, he would not die for real, there was nothing to fear. He was also sizing her up and down in a brazen manner. He even wanted to squeeze her body to see if it was tangible after all. Cannot be identified? Su Ping cast an identification spell but saw no information, which intrigued him even more. That was an advanced being. At the same time, the girl in the dark mist suddenly said something in a strange language that was hard to understand. It sounded like the calling of the undead. Su Ping could hardly take that information in. He was about to ask when the girl waved her hand and the black haze began to surge over. Su Ping was in that revival space once again. He still had questions, so he revived on the spot at once. He saw that girl again. The girl was taken aback to see him. That playful look in her eyes deepened. She floated over, stopping very close to Su Ping. Su Ping blinked and all of a sudden, made a grabbing move toward her chest. It was soft as mist. To be exact, it was essentially made of mist. Gee! Just as he finished sighing, Su Ping saw that the girl began to frown. His body temperature dropped and he went back to the revival space. Luckily, such death was not painful. Still, Su Ping chose to revive on the spot. The girl was dumbstruck after seeing him appear out of nowhere once more. Slowly, she began to contemplate the situation. Do you have intelligence? Can you understand me? Su Ping asked curiously. It was rare for him to meet a being that resembled humans. Maybe he could learn something interesting from her. The black haze girl slowly shifted her sight to him and something seemed to come to her mind. Her eyes glowed in green and she opened her mouth. All of a sudden, Su Ping felt that the heat and energy in his body were transformed into a form of golden energy that floated into her mouth. Soon, Su Ping lost his life yet again. Without hesitation, he revived on the spot. This time, the girl didn't appear to be surprised. She opened her mouth and continued to suck away Su Ping's life force. Revive! 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 Su Ping repeated the process several times, but the girl in the dark haze never stopped and did not reply to his questioning, not even once. Finally, Su Ping realized that this gal was treating him as an inexhaustible food source. In a fit of rage, Su Ping decided not to probe further. He chose to revive at a random spot. Just as he came back to life, Su Ping realized that the view was different from before. He was inside a huge palace. And yet, the magnificent palace seemed to have been built with massive bones. Chapter 32, Bone King. Is this the residence of a higher intelligent life in the realm of the undead? Su Ping looked at the bone palace curiously. The owner must be out of the ordinary, being able to build a palace to dwell in. Besides, the massive bones that were used to build the palace were towering and grandiose. Su Ping found it hard to picture how horrifying those beings must have been when they were alive. Is that the gate? Su Ping stepped forward. He felt the air was more suffocating than outside and it was deadly still. The air was thick with the smell of decay and a strange, fishy odor. He walked only for a dozen meters when he lost his sight. He felt his body being torn apart from within by something out of the void and then he was reduced to nothing. Revive! His sight blacked out and was recovered. Su Ping looked around, searching for the thing that attacked him. Bang! His body burst open all of a sudden for yet another time. Revive! Su Ping recovered as before. Explode! Revive! Damn it! Bang! Revive! This time, just as Su Ping was coming back to life, he saw the space in front of him begin to twist. A mass of dark energy emerged from the well, gradually taking the shape of a human being. This was a tall woman with an insane body shape. The buxom lady was well endowed, which gave her an enchanting appearance. There was a black charm on her forehead, with a symbol that resembled a fishhook. She was flapping the 8 dull black wings that grew from her back, just like a fallen angel depicted in the myths. Su Ping threw an identification spell on her at once. Just as he expected, no information came out. Eh? The black-winged lady raised her pretty eyebrows. She looked Su Ping up and down and then, as if to seek confirmation, pointed her finger at him. Bang! Su Ping's body exploded. Revive! The black-winged lady was stunned to see Su Ping recover. Then, she pointed her finger forward. This time, Su Ping was swallowed by a green mass of energy shaped like a skeleton. Su Ping felt he was melting, he was dissolved until nothing was left. Revive! Su Ping stood on the spot but his face was dark. That lady was treating him like a guinea pig and was exploring different ways to kill him. Hey, can't we have a simple conversation? Su Ping was furious. Bang! He exploded again. Revive! Su Ping clenched his teeth in hatred. The game was on. That's right. He was filled with wrath and was daring the lady to kill him. Bang, bang, bang. After he exploded several times, he heard a surprised "oh" when he came back to life again. This was a deep, nasal sound that was both light and at the same time, loud enough to echo in the entire palace, like a thunderbolt that could make the entire space tremble. Su Ping suddenly felt the depths of his soul quiver. His hair was standing on end. This was freakishly terrifying. His heart was pounding uncontrollably and his blood was surging as he was shivering. He couldn't see anything but he was simply afraid, something was inducing his fear. The black-winged angel that was still attempting varied ways to end him was startled by that questioning nasal sound. She turned around at once and bowed, dropping to her knees in the air toward the void in front of her, toward that gate built with white bones at the end of the void. Su Ping noticed that the black-winged angel was trembling, even her wings were shaking. Whoosh! Abruptly, his sight was blurred. Next, both him and the black-winged lady re-emerged in front of a throne made of bones, but their positions and relative location had not changed one bit. It was as if they had been teleported by some mighty force. All he could see was a staircase made up of white bones pieced together. He found skulls of many different beings. There were horns on some of the skulls which had to be from demons. Atop the stair was a throne of bones with the backrest made in the shape of a sharp sword. On both sides, the armrests were 2 enormous skulls encrusted along with some smaller ones. Seated in the throne was a towering figure covered in the gloomy dark energy which flowed all around him, his elbows supported by the ghastly armrests. The skin on his bare wrists was pale. He tilted his head so he could look down upon those present. He lifted his eyelids slightly, revealing his dark, unemotional eyes. Su Ping looked up at him and into the cold eyes that seemed to be able to see through history. Instantly, he felt cold, fear, and the desire to kneel and worship this being. However, he dismissed the idea just as it popped out. Remembering that he could not be killed, Su Ping made up his mind and stood up straight. Are you the man in charge here? The moment he opened his mouth, the kneeling and trembling black-winged lady waved her hands at once. A streak of dark energy sealed off Su Ping's mouth like a tape. She lowered her head at once and apologized to the king on the throne, but Su Ping did not understand one word. Bang! All of a sudden, without any warning, Su Ping exploded. Su Ping was dumbstruck. Why was there never any sign before those beings took action? He was furious and chose to revive on the spot at once. The king on the throne of bones squinted his eternally immutable and cold eyes. Bang! Su Ping exploded once more. Revive! Explode again. Revive one more time. Are you kidding me? Can you let me finish? Bang! Revive! This time, Su Ping did not die at once. Angrily, he climbed that stair of bones and dashed toward that being. Nobody was born to be above others. Su Ping wanted to go there and punch that guy, even though he was aware that he was as vulnerable as a puny insect. He was completely unable to harm that king. But he would have died for nothing if he didn't fight back. The black-winged lady freaked out, seeing Su Ping trying to approach the king. Her expressions were twisted in wrath. Dark energy surged around her. This time, with this blow, she used her strongest strike. Since she was exerting her full strength, Su Ping would die 10,000 times over, even if he were 100 times stronger. However, Before her strike was released, she began to bend over as if something were squeezing her. There were sounds of her bones being fractured. Then, she was swung to the side, smashing into the bone columns like a bird with broken wings. While still in rage, Su Ping did not notice what happened to her. He dashed up the stairs and stood in front of the throne. The process was strangely smooth. Nothing hindered him. F*CKU, Su Ping raised his hand and punched. But his fist stopped midway and his body became so still that he could not move at all. Traveling back in time and space. All of a sudden, Su Ping heard a frigid voice in his mind. It had to be from the being on the throne. But Su Ping never saw his lips move. What? Su Ping had never heard about the term, but he guessed it had something to do with his revival. Who are you that can reverse space and time in the realm of the undead? Or, should I say, who is the person behind this? That cold voice went on slowly, carrying an overwhelming sense that could not be doubted. None of your F*King business. Su Ping couldn't move his lips, but he voiced the curse in his mind. Bang! He exploded. Revive! Just as Su Ping came back to life, he realized that his body could move about again. He was hopping mad. It was true that the being in front of him was horrifying, but being killed repeatedly had consumed him with wrath. At the same time, all of a sudden, he saw a blood-red bead the size of a baby's hand next to the throne. The bead appeared to be precious. It must be worthwhile, even if this is just some average gem. Without hesitation, Su Ping bent over. Bang! He exploded yet again. Revive! After he was brought back to life, he was still bent over, just the way he was before he died. Su Ping moved down a bit more. Bang! Revive! This time, he lowered his body a bit more. By the fifth revival, Su Ping was very close to the blood-red bead. In his consciousness, he shouted, I will tell you. He didn't explode. His hand grabbed the blood-red bead. Got it. The bead vanished. It was transferred to the storage space. What? That being had seen through Su Ping's intent but did not know that there were storage treasures in him. The moment this being saw Su Ping, he already had a complete understanding of his puny existence. Nothing could escape from his eyes. I will tell you to go to hell. Su Ping obtained the bead. Overjoyed, Su Ping hurled out curses without hesitation. Chapter 33, Swear and Run. Bang! Su Ping's body was completely annihilated the moment he muttered insults, exploding without even leaving the slightest trace of ash. The being sitting on the throne wore a cold look. He didn't understand Su Ping's language, but that didn't stop him from detecting Su Ping's evil intentions. Once again, for such a benighted person to try to fool him, he was annoyed by how ignorant those inferior creatures could be. This was just a small punishment. The king on the throne planned to strip this puny being of his soul when Su Ping came back to life again, to find out the secrets inside him. He would imprison this ignorant soul under his throne throughout eternity so that Su Ping could not die even if he aspired to. However, 5 seconds had passed, then 10 seconds, and then 1 minute passed. The void in front of him was undisturbed. Su Ping did not come back again. The king on the throne frowned. While he was still baffled, all of a sudden, he shifted his look. His dark eyes seemed to be able to see through the void. He, who had been sitting still for all this time, stood up all of a sudden. Boom! The palace trembled and space shook. The pride that he had accumulated through the ages manifested, and that overwhelming power could run through the entire world. All the undead beings within millions of meters of this majestic bone palace felt the anger from their king. They fell to their knees, shivering in fear. This is a time-spatial diversion. The time-spatial diversion. This heroic king who was surrounded by monstrous powers gazed through the hall with his dark eyes into the distance. The two laws of supremacy were applied at the same time. The distance of one transfer is beyond the scope of my territory. Who is it? Who is it? The black-winged lady that fell to a corner of this bone palace was surprised to see her king flying into a rage. How long had it been? Tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years had passed since she last saw her king losing his temper. When the king was angry, blood would flow for thousands of miles, and ghosts would cry. You! That towering being lowered his head. Flames were blasting around him. His eyes could snatch people's souls as if they were a pair of black holes. Find that being and bring him back to me. The black-winged lady lowered her head at once. Her voice was trembling as she replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." Afterward, she kept her head lowered for 2 more seconds. There were no more orders for her. She shifted into a puff of black mist and vanished from the palace. The peerless king seemed to be unaware that the lady with black wings had left. He frowned and murmured to himself, "Only those old guys that are sealed in the dust-laden ancient times can apply the 2 supreme laws at the same time. Who else can it be? Have they come back from the cursed old world?" Revive at a random spot. After he hurled out those insults, Su Ping accepted his death calmly. It was not a surprise that this time, he chose to be revived at a random spot. It's so exciting to run after cursing. Su Ping felt even his paws were breathing in comfort since he had vented his anger. He was on the verge of bursting into laughter as he thought about that big potato being unable to chase him after being dissed. Does he think that I would keep reviving myself and sending myself to oblivion? So naive. Su Ping wore a sarcastic grin. Sarcasm aside, that was a risky move. Luckily, that being was overly confident and proud. He thought that Su Ping would revive on the spot every time and that he could squeeze him to death at will. If he had known that Su Ping could revive at a random spot, Su Ping supposed that the being would have imprisoned him and tortured him slowly until he drove him crazy. I hope I never run into him again. Otherwise, I'll have to kill myself at once, Su Ping said to himself. He felt he had to find some handy weapons to defend, i.e. kill, himself. Otherwise, it would be utterly painful to be ravished by some enemies that wanted to kill him but refused to. More importantly, his precious time in this cultivation site would be wasted if he were to be slowly tortured. At the same time, Su Ping's sights cleared up gradually. He had been brought back to life in another location. Hanging above his head were still the 3 blood moons and the sky was cloudy and crimson. Around him was a huge mountain covered with bones and remains. Neither grass nor flowers of any sort grew in the mountain, which was made up entirely of countless bones and remains. Crack! Su Ping moved his feet. He had stomped on some hand bones. Those bones must have been weathered during thousands of years to be that fragile. Gradually, Su Ping got used to the scenes in this chaotic realm of the undead. He had developed some resistance to these hellish horror scenes. He took his time to bring the lightning rat and the little skeleton back to life. Those 2 little guys had been killed in that black haze. Thanks to the power of the contract, they could revive right by his side. The lightning rat could once again see the outside. It was appalled by the view of this mountain of skeletons. But different from before, the lightning rat was not as agitated or terrified. Soon, the lightning rat put its guards up and began to check the surroundings with its rat eyes. Having been stimulated by the killing intent several times, the lightning rat had become much bolder than before. After the little skeleton was brought back to life, it glanced around with a dull look. Then, the little skeleton cast its empty gaze on the piles of bones on the ground, picking and choosing. But the little skeleton threw away the bones it picked up because it was discouraged after seeing the options. Let's take a look around and see if there are any enemies. Su Ping instructed the lightning rat in his mind. The lightning rat was reluctant and hesitating. Still, it began to move forward cautiously without making any noises to check the area. Su Ping cast his gaze on the little skeleton who was picking bones. All of a sudden, Su Ping remembered the blood-red bead he grabbed off from the throne. An idea came to his mind. He took it out of the storage space at once. The blood-red bead felt warm in his hand. When he snatched it, Su Ping put it away into his storage space in a hurry, so he didn't have time to check the bead carefully. At the moment, it was to his surprise that the blood-red bead seemed to be a living entity and it would tremble and throb mildly. "This is precious," Su Ping exclaimed. At the same time, the scavenging little skeleton lifted up its head all of a sudden and fixed its hollowed eye sockets on the blood-red bead in Su Ping's hands. Su Ping sensed a strong desire from the little skeleton's consciousness. This desire was tens or hundreds of times stronger than when the little skeleton wanted those human-shaped skeletons. If it weren't for the constraint exerted by the contract, Su Ping believed the little skeleton would pounce on the bead. "Do you want it?" It was most likely that the blood-red bead could do the little skeleton good since it wanted the bead so much. That was understandable. After all, This bead was from the realm of the undead. It was only natural that the bead would be of help to an undead being like the little skeleton. Su Ping remembered the main quest. He threw the bead to the little guy after a bit of hesitation. Anyways, this little guy was a pet of his own. The little skeleton held the blood-red bead, and the red glow from the bead seemed to have deepened the crimson color in the little skeleton's eye sockets. Resolutely, the little skeleton stuffed the bead into its mouth, and the bead moved up to the skeleton's skull directly. After the little skeleton removed its hands, the blood-red bead began to float around in its skull. There seemed to be some faint red threads that looked like blood vines, flowing into the little skeleton's skull along with the grayish energy inside, and then going into the bones around the little skeleton's body. Su Ping was surprised. He cast another identification spell on the little skeleton again. Chapter 34, Learning. Little Skeleton. Property, pet of the demon family. Rank, the intermediate position of the first rank. Combat strength, 2.8. Aptitude, low. Abilities mastered, severed limb reassemble. The information shown on the interface was still simple, and the only basic skill it had was the one mastered by all skeletons. Such being the case, the little skeleton had advanced by leaps and bounds compared with before. The progress could be considered huge, with the combat strength improved from the weak 1.1 to a higher 2.8. A combat strength of 1.1 was that of average human beings. Having a combat strength of 2.8, the pet could hunt and kill tigers or similar beasts. The significance of such a difference was self-evident. Furthermore, the little skeleton had indeed progressed, given that it had not cultivated much but had moved from the lower position to the intermediate position of the first rank just because of being in the chaotic realm of the undead where the undead resided. The aptitude was elevated from poor to low. It can display combat strength of nearly the third rank, while the little skeleton is, in fact, at the intermediate position of the first rank. That is impressive. Yet, given the strict standards of the system, the little skeleton is still regarded as inferior. Su Ping forced a smile. He felt frustrated when he remembered the requirement for finishing the main quest, which was to raise the little skeleton's aptitude to an above-average rate. On the other hand, while they had died many times since they had been teleported to the chaotic realm of the undead, up until then, they had only been there for 2 or 3 hours. The little skeleton had come a long way within such a short time. This was outstanding. Woo! All of a sudden, the lightning rat came back from the distance, passing through some signs of warning and nervousness. Su Ping concentrated his mind. He took a closer look and saw a huge, crawling skeleton coming from the piles of bones behind the lightning rat. The skeleton was nearly 5 meters long, resembling a mixture between a beast and a twisted human being. The skeleton was made up of bones of varied animals. It was traveling on all fours as it chased after the lightning rat. Su Ping was not taken aback by this monster. He focused his mind and cast the killing intent skill at once. Move! The lightning rat that had run back began to show its teeth and its eyes reddened. It halted on the spot, and then electricity was generated all around its body. The lightning rat turned around and charged toward that huge skeleton. Su Ping turned his sight to the little skeleton, who was still standing there, at a loss. Yet, different from the past dull look, seemingly reveling in comfort. The grey mist surrounding the little skeleton was mixed with some blood-red aura that was flowing across its bones, which were becoming tougher than before, after the combined effect of the grey energy and the blood-red aura. It appeared that the little skeleton was consuming this blood-red bead. Su Ping decided not to let the little skeleton participate. The lightning rat would fight alone this time. The abilities of this massive, crawling skeleton were evidently far superior to the human-shaped skeletons from before. It was obvious that the lightning rat could not react fast enough. Luckily, the lightning rat had mastered one of the 10 special skills, Thunder Flash, which enabled it to teleport close to its enemies. With Su Ping's unlimited chances of revival, the lightning rat could reduce its enemies' powers bit by bit, just like a war of attrition. Bang! After more than 100 revivals, the lightning rat suddenly discharged a bolt of lightning. Even with meters apart, the flash of lightning landed on the crawling skeleton. Su Ping was surprised. He had never seen the lightning rat use this skill before. Su Ping cast an identification spell and saw that the lightning rat had mastered another skill, named Flying Thunder Arrow. Intermediate rank skill of the Thunder family, usually mastered by flying pets of the Thunder family. I didn't know that the little guy could be pushed out of its limits to unleash this skill, Su Ping smiled. While this was an intermediate level skill, the upside was that the skill could be used for remote attacks. So, by all counts, it was good. Therefore, this little lightning rat must have been desperate after using the Thunder Flash for many times to get close to its enemy and then inflict harm at the cost of its own life, to have come up with this remote attack idea. With the mastery of Flying Thunder Arrow, the combat strength of the lightning rat had been elevated to 4.3. The lightning rat could defeat many battle pets of the 4th rank at this time. After about an hour, the crawling skeleton finally fell to the ground after the dark, foul aura was depleted. There was no more energy for the skeleton to repair its lost limbs. The lightning rat took it apart. The little skeleton ran over as soon as the crawling skeleton fell and began to look through the pile of bones. Yet, this time, the little skeleton did not choose any bones to replace its own. Instead, the little skeleton chose a sharp-edged bone and brought it back. The little skeleton was holding the sharp bone blade like its official saber. While surprised, Su Ping also found it interesting. I wonder what this item can do to the little skeleton. It must need a long time to consume it entirely. Su Ping took a curious look at the blood-red bead inside the little skeleton's skull. The blood aura in the blood-red bead was being absorbed by the little skeleton and the bead was becoming smaller. Su Ping did not rest. He told the lightning rat to go and look for other prey to lure them over. Reluctantly, the lightning rat did as told. Not long afterward, it ran back in panic. It had lured back 2 odd-looking skeletons in one go. One of the skeletons looked like a monster and the other was human-shaped, but both were clumsy skeletons. Both had a large size and a height of about 5 meters. They were holding huge bones in their hands as shields. Those skeletons had developed a certain level of intelligence. Part of that came from the remaining consciousness of the living beings that the skeletons once were. Therefore, the two knew how to equip themselves. Su Ping instructed both the little skeleton and the lightning rat to engage at once. The little skeleton waved its little bone blade and rushed to the more agile skeleton. When they saw the little skeleton, something attracted the huge skeleton's attention. They simultaneously gave up on attacking the lightning rat. They turned around and rushed toward the little skeleton directly. The little skeleton waved its small bone blade and jumped up to slash at the crawling skeleton. However, the former was unable to sever the bones of the latter. The little skeleton was smashed away by a piece of bone that was thrown at it. The little skeleton appeared to be much stronger than before, because it did not fall apart this time. Su Ping cast an identification spell. The crawling skeleton's combat strength was 5.2, way stronger than the little skeleton and the lightning rat. That crawling skeleton threw itself at the little skeleton rapidly and bit the latter. The former moved its jaws and swung its head as if it were going to eat up the little skeleton. But the giant skeleton that came after smashed its shield on the crawling skeleton. The little skeleton was freed from that big mouth. Then, the giant skeleton threw that almost shattered little skeleton into its mouth. Dark and foul aura was surging in that giant skeleton. It was aiming to cannibalize the little skeleton. Crack! The little skeleton fell to pieces. That blood-red bead fell out from its skull as well, and the bead was then inside the skull of that giant skeleton. At the same time, Su Ping received the prompt message for revival. He was surprised to know that the blood-red bead would fall out after the death of the little skeleton. Was it because the bead had not been completely absorbed yet? There was no time for him to think. Su Ping brought the little skeleton back to life at once and asked it to cooperate with the lightning rat to attack the giant. Apart from the little skeleton and the lightning rat, the crawling skeleton that was hit by the shield had pounced at the giant skeleton at the same time. They were fighting for the blood-red bead. Use Thunder Flash to sneak into its skull and bring the bead out. Su Ping passed along his intention to the lightning rat. Having received the instructions, the lightning rat leaped from place to place until it was inside the large skull of that giant skeleton. The lightning rat gripped the bead with its teeth. With a flash of lightning, the lightning rat left the skeleton and then went back to Su Ping after a couple of more leaps. Su Ping took over the blood-red bead and threw it into his storage space. While this bead was beneficial to the little skeleton, given its current status, it would need a great deal of time to completely absorb the energy. In the event of a sudden death and the appearance of another powerful being fancying this item, they might lose the bead forever. We have to go back and wait for some free time for the little skeleton to consume it slowly. I can also let the system check what it is, Su Ping thought to himself. He looked up. Without the blood-red bead, the fight between the two skeletons had stopped. They were concentrating on the lightning rat and the little skeleton again. Both of the skeletons dashed over ferociously. Charge! Su Ping commanded the little skeleton and the lightning rat to go at the same time. Chapter 35. I have crossed the mountains of bones and oceans of blood. Thanks to countless revivals, the two skeletons were finally eliminated by the lightning rat and the little skeleton in a prolonged fight. Su Ping did not stop there. He took the lightning rat and the little skeleton with him to search for other prey around this huge mountain of bones, although they were the puniest lives there. When he was out of strength, Su Ping would recover by revival. When his mind was fatigued, he would commit suicide to recover. The person, the rat, and the skeleton went on an expedition along the mountain of bones. They only chose to revive in another location when they encountered beings that were far superior to them. Then, they would start their exploration again. Time zipped by. Soon, 3 days had passed. Su Ping had lost count of the number of revivals or places that he had visited randomly. He just remembered there were mountains with huge piles of skeletons and bones, dark forests that would feast on life energy, and boundless oceans that were bubbling with blood. He had encountered many undead beings, some twisted and ugly, some charming and beautiful, some weak like an average skeleton with a combat strength of no more than 5, and others that were so strong and powerful, as towering as mountains, that Su Ping could not even see their complete appearance. In this sinister environment, Su Ping, the lightning rat, and the little skeleton were all growing quickly. Bang! Suddenly, 2 spooky ghosts' pale and transparent bodies were suddenly shrouded by a large cluster of lightning bolts. They annihilated on the spot before they could come close. A purple figure jumped out with the lightning bolts rushing in its hair. The guy landed gently, striding with a dexterous step through the place where the ghosts were exterminated, and continuing onward. Behind it, a person and a skeleton followed closely. Compared with 3 days prior, the appearance of the lightning rat did not change much, except that its fur darkened and the thunder power contained within was thicker. After all, the lightning rat was only of the 2nd rank. Unleashing several skills of the thunder family in a row would take a toll on its energy storage. Therefore, when the lightning rat learned Thunder Slash, the lightning rat had gradually picked up more sophisticated ways to store energy. The lightning rat would compress its energy to the extreme and fill its entire body with energy. Regarding the total amount of thunder energy stored, the lightning rat was no weaker than a 5th or 6th rank pet of the thunder family. Fruit of the undead. Su Ping suddenly saw a dusty, odd tree in front of him, with several bright, blood-colored fruits. These fruits had a faint outline of a human face and were the favored food for a handful of pets of the thunder family. The fruits contained strong power of the undead and could be rarely purchased in the Federation. After all, each of those fruits represented a life lost. Go! Su Ping drew back his sight. Without hesitation, he told the lightning rat to strike that fruit tree. As soon as the lightning rat received Su Ping's command, electric arcs burst out all around the lightning rat, eventually converging into a ball of lightning that whooshed toward the root of that fruit tree. Bang! The moment the bolt of lightning came close, the rootstock buried underground suddenly broke through the soil, reaching toward the bolt of lightning, shattering the latter in an instant. However, the roots and twigs were burnt black and fell to the ground. Bang! 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 The lightning rat launched strikes consecutively with its thunder and lightning. The number of roots of this fruit tree were decreasing until, finally, the tree could not endure a hit on its trunk where a black mark was left. Su Ping could somehow hear unpleasant screams coming from under the tree. Su Ping didn't show any mercy. That tree of the undead would capture other lives, including skeletons and ghosts, to turn them into nourishment. It just so happened that pets of the thunder family were the invincible opponents of such trees. Soon, the fruit tree was cleaved in two. Su Ping picked the fruits of the undead and put them into his storage space. The storage space is almost full. Su Ping frowned when he noticed how the storage space had almost reached the limit. There were various kinds of pet food that he had collected on the way during those 3 days. He had 2 more days left and he could find more food, but he feared that the remaining storage space would not be enough. System, can the storage space be upgraded? Su Ping asked in his mind. Yes. How many energy points? 100 energy points for every cubic meter. Sure. Su Ping didn't bargain with the system because it never worked. He used his remaining points to upgrade the storage space. It was a rare chance that he could come to this top-level cultivation site that would cost 9,000 energy points for supplies. He didn't wish to lose some pet food just because he lacked storage space. It is unfortunate that the pet food harvested here is mostly pet food for the demon family, which is not in popular demand. Few places would sell such food and few people would buy it. I must think hard about distribution, Su Ping said to himself. After harvesting the fruit, Su Ping pressed onward. Su Ping had searched the entire area after some unexpected deaths due to surprise attacks. Again, he chose to revive at a random place and thus began to explore a new area. On the 5th day. The time is almost over now. Standing in front of a cliff, Su Ping gazed at the muddy ocean of dead bodies in which many bones and remains were soaked, rising and falling with the tide. Su Ping had become immune to that hellish scene. By his feet, 2 little guys stood in silence. Compared with 5 days before, their appearances were not quite different. Between them, the little skeleton's change was more obvious. The bones transferred from gray to black and there seemed to be some blood streaks in the bones like veins. As for the little skeleton's size, it was still about as tall as Su Ping's knee. There was no growth in this regard. It was holding a sharp bone blade in its hand. A dagger, to be exact. This bone blade was made from the fang of a skeleton that was almost 10 meters long. After 5 days of training, the little skeleton was at the moment more like a local skeleton born in the chaotic realm of the undead. Its energy changed from a light gray to a dull black. The energy was moving around the little skeleton and the bone blade. This is the end of the road. Let's go. Su Ping drew back his sight after standing in that stinky sea wind. He took out a pointed tooth from his sleeve. This tooth was sharp. It was surrounded by some foul aura. PFF. Su Ping kept a straight face as he stabbed his chest with this blade. When he felt pain, he curled his lips. This is a mistake. I should have stabbed harder. He fell to the ground with a bang. Staring at the crimson air, feeling blood oozing out, Su Ping exclaimed to himself that this was a complete waste of time. The lightning rat and the little skeleton looked at him. They were anxious but did not know what to do. While this had happened many times, they would feel anxious and long to do something when they felt life leaving their masters' bodies due to the power of the contract. Not long afterward, in another place in the chaotic realm of the undead, the person, the rat, and the skeleton appeared out of thin air. After a short time checking, they launched vicious attacks on the undead beings around them. The Pixie Pet store on Taohuaxi Street. The shutter door was closed. It was pitch dark inside. All of a sudden, a whirl emerged out of nowhere, spitting out 3 figures. When the whirl gradually disappeared, someone opened his black eyes. Seeing the familiar store that he had been away from for days and smelling the unprecedented fresh air, Su Ping felt that he had been resurrected from the numbness and his life had gone back to normal. Chapter 36, Chaos Star Chart. Ding! Main quest finished. The host has earned an award. Collect. Ding! The side quest first training order has finished. The host is given 3 force pellets. Collect. Before Su Ping could clear his head, he had heard 2 prompt messages from the system. Su Ping was surprised at first and then he gladly accepted. Those 5 days of non-stop battles and countless resurrections had paid off. Half a day before their return, the 2 little guys had completed those 2 almost impossible tasks. Of course, apart from their efforts, they had to thank the environment in the chaotic realm of the undead. As a top-level cultivation site, the aura of the undead in the chaotic realm of the undead was extremely profound. Just breathing that air constantly would slowly turn a live being into an undead. That was the best world for the little skeleton. Because of this, the little skeleton could improve from a poor aptitude to an above-average rating after 5 days of insane battles. At the moment, the little skeleton and the lightning rat were much stronger in combat strength than their peers. None could compete with them. Su Ping cast an identification spell on them. Little skeleton. Property, pet of the demon family. Rank, upper position of the second rank. Combat strength, 7.4. Aptitude, above average. Abilities mastered, regeneration, undead enslaving, intermediate saberplay, puppetry, rotting flesh, darkness blinding, and deadly roar. Apart from the upgrade to the regeneration from the species' basic skill, severed limbs reassemble, the little skeleton had picked up more abilities to an intermediate and advanced levels. Amongst the skills, the undead enslaving was a rare special skill in the species of the undead. The strength of the undead slaves was related to the surrounding environment. When the number of dead bodies reached a certain range, that strength would be unmatchable. With blood spirit conversion, the pets could devour blood and transform blood into energy for their uses. As for the intermediate saberplay, it was not an ability for the undead and should belong to some quasi-human pets. For the little skeleton, this ability, as the name suggested, was merely at the intermediate level. Puppetry, rotting flesh, and the other abilities were quite useful, and they could be the headache for the majority of battle pet warriors. With so many abilities mastered, while the little skeleton was only at the upper position of the second rank, its combat strength had reached an alarming 7.4 level, enough to compare with most of the average 7th rank pets. Su Ping was rather happy with the result. When the little skeleton reached a combat strength of 7.1, the aptitude had been identified as above average. Half a day later, there was another increase of 0.3. The chaotic realm of the undead was surely a paradise for the little skeleton. As for the other pet, Shadow Lightning Rat. Property, Astral Pet of the Thunder family. Rank, intermediate position of the third rank. Combat strength, 7.3. Aptitude, above average. Abilities mastered, Thunder Rush, Thunder Flash, Multiple Thunder Shadow Image, Thunder Slash, Thunder Armor, All-Round Thunder Prison, Bloodthirst Bite, Thunder Roar, Soul Eater, Claws of the Undead, Life Drain, Undead Calling, and Death Deceit. Apart from the Shadow addition in the name, the number of abilities the Lightning Rat had mastered was alarmingly large. Thunder Rush was an upgrade from Lightning Speed, an advanced skill for pets of the Thunder family, but a common one amongst all the advanced pet skills. Generally, all advanced pets could replace Lightning Speed with Thunder Rush. As for the Thunder Shadow image, it had been enhanced. 4 images could be generated at one time. Counting the actual Lightning Rat itself, there would be 5 Shadow Lightning Rats in total. The Flying Thunder Arrow that the Shadow Lightning Rat learned there had been upgraded to All-Round Thunder Prison, with a wider attack range and more strength. This was a must for pets of the Thunder family of the offensive type. Thunder Roar was also an advanced pet skill, quite common. It was a skill that advanced pets used for deterrence effects. Apart from those skills of the Thunder family, the other ones were quite peculiar. Soul Eater and Life Drain were used by pets of the undead branch of the demon family, which were common amongst them. Claws of the Undead was a common skill of the undead. As for the Undead Calling, it was an intermediate level skill of the undead. The caller could summon the undead for help. As for the last one, Death Deceit, it was an authentic undead pet skill. One could fake death and lose the breath of life completely. I didn't know that pets of the Thunder family could learn skills of the undead. I think it is rare that a pet could learn the skills of another family. Such things can only happen either because of coincidence or due to living in a different environment for long periods of time. Su Ping found it both strange and funny when he saw that undead calling. If, on the stage, a low-rank lightning rat would suddenly unleash undead calling to summon an undead to cooperate, that view would twist people's fundamental values. Having stayed in the chaotic realm of the undead for 5 days, the little guy seems to have changed a bit. In addition to the thunder energy, there is undead energy mixed within. That is why this little thing is able to use undead skills. Su Ping looked at the lightning rat by his feet. On the surface, it did not seem to be that different from the average lightning rat. Differences could only be found after a closer check, such as the fur color, the sharpness of its fangs, and the color of its pupils. That is to say, in the future, when I take the little skeleton to a thunder realm such as the Thundercloud realm, could it learn to use skills of the Thunder family? Su Ping wondered. He couldn't help but laugh as he pictured how the little skeleton would generate lightning, waving its hands with a dull look on its face. But he did understand that it wasn't easy for a pet to learn the skills of other families. This time, they visited a top-level cultivation world that was rich in undead energy, that had exerted a great influence on the lightning rat. If they had gone to other sites, the effects might be less obvious. Just relying on average battles, it would have taken an incredibly long time for a pet to learn the skills of other families. It's such a shame to give away this genius lightning rat. Su Ping felt sorry. But he did have some comfort since his little skeleton would remain. He sent the 2 pets to the pet room and bought an elementary nursing pen for the little skeleton with the last 10 energy points he had left, so that the little skeleton could rest there. After they went to sleep, Su Ping left the pet room quietly and headed to the lobby where he finally had the time to collect the rewards the system had given him. What is this Chaos Star chart? Su Ping was curious. He had just collected the reward when a vast and simple presence suddenly came into his mind, instantly drawing his consciousness into the unlimited and boundless universe, making him a tiny wisp of consciousness in the starry sky. Around him were spiral galaxies, surrounded by countless stars. In the next moment, those cosmic landscapes were condensed at a rapid speed, turning into a ray of light and shrinking to enter his body, with galaxies matching various body parts. Chaos Star chart. Some ancient consciousness surged out from this information. The reward of this main quest, the Chaos Star chart, was an archaic method for astral power cultivation. Su Ping was marveled at this because the cultivation methodology of the Chaos Star chart was simply stunning. He would be the vast universe, and the acupuncture points, muscles, and bones throughout the body would be the corresponding stars. This methodology was nothing like the astral power cultivation practice used in the Federation, a method he had barely come into contact with. Chapter 37, Uncommon Cultivation. Is this long-lost archaic cultivation practice? Su Ping came back to his senses. This was a reward from the system and it had to be of high quality. Currently, what he wanted the most was a method to cultivate astral powers. This reward could not have come at a better timing. Cultivation of astral power. Feel the energy between the heaven and earth around you and store it in the original cores of the body cells, then weave and compress the energy in the original cores to construct the original force vortices, to later use the countless original force vortices in the countless cells to affect the external energy through the body to exert astral skills. The Chaos Star chart offered a detailed explanation on how to cultivate it, which had ushered Su Ping into an entirely new world. As of this moment, Su Ping had achieved a true awakening. He evolved from a regular person to step into the world of battle pet warriors. He had witnessed the use of extraordinary powers. Su Ping closed his eyes at once and focused his mind on the miraculous cultivation presented by the Chaos Star chart. The first-time cultivation attempt was difficult as well as exhilarating. Su Ping lost himself in the process. In the extreme tranquility, he appreciated himself and the world. Soon after, Su Ping felt that some hazy astral power was floating around him, gentle and subtle, like grains of sand. His consciousness gathered those grains like a pair of hands. The astral power seemed to have heeded the call of his consciousness. They slowly flew toward him and seeped into his skin, falling into the original cell cores. This process was smooth, which surprised and excited Su Ping. And yet, those original cores inside the cells, while appearing to be tiny, they seemed to contain an entire universe. The mist-like astral power entered the original cores as if they had fallen into another universe. They became quite minute after that. Su Ping gathered and absorbed a vast amount of astral power from his surroundings. However, his perception and the range of his consciousness could reach were limited. He could only gather astral power from an area within a 2-meter radius around him. The gathering of astral power was still soft and slow. Su Ping could not accelerate the process. No matter how anxious he was in his conscious mind, he could not expedite the gathering of astral power. Rather, it would cause a disturbance and slow down the absorption. While he seemed to be surrounded by astral power, the astral power that could be taken into the original cores in his cells was significantly small in quantity. How could so little astral power form a vortex in the original core, not to mention filling up the latter? While continuously gathering astral power, Su Ping's excitement gradually disappeared. He slowly realized that this astral power cultivation could not be done overnight, and the astral power had to be accumulated over time. The real difficulty was how to persevere. While gathering astral power was easy and the process was unhindered, to make astral power vortices, he had to do the same thing and repeat the same behavior, day in and day out. That required outstanding patience and a will of steel that could endure the increasing boredom. That was the hardest part in cultivation. The first state of the Chaos Star chart is the star vortex state. The main focus is to gather astral power in the original cause to form vortices. Once that is done, I can unleash astral skills and affect the world outside. The second stage is the star body state. The original cause should be stuffed with astral power to substantialize the vortices. The sudden outburst of strength would be like countless stars exploding within the body. Just the physical strength alone will make me like a human-shaped beast, enabling me to fight pets of the corresponding rank of the power type and even higher. The third state is the star chart state, which is too far in the future for me right now. Su Ping slowly opened his eyes. The first two states of the Chaos Star chart did not require any skills and relied only on the accumulation and convergence of astral power. He had been cultivating until his consciousness felt tired. But Su Ping realized the astral power gathered in the original cause was still low in density. It was hard to form a wisp of energy, let alone a vortex. He had to admit that this was a disappointing result. Such frustration was also the devil inside that could hinder cultivation. It would discourage people. That was why cultivation was not easy. Right. I have 3 original force pellets. Su Ping's spirit was lifted when he remembered the other reward. The original force pellets could improve a person's astral power cultivation. Such items that could have this direct improvement effect were highly valuable in the Federation and only the powerful and the rich could afford them. That was why those glamorous talents were usually from families with strong connections. It was as difficult as to climb up to the sky for the general public to enjoy the same resources. Not even one in the general public could be found with such connections in a million. Su Ping took out the pellets from the storage space with his mind. 3 coffee-colored original force pellets appeared in his hands. Each pellet was the size of a thumb. Su Ping took a sniff. There was a faint scent. How do I eat it? Su Ping asked the system. Chew them so you don't choke, the system replied. Why did he find those words familiar? Su Ping raised his eyebrows. He threw one of the pellets into his mouth. He chewed it slowly and then swallowed it. While he was chewing, he felt some concentrated astral power flowing into him, into his stomach and then to the rest of his body. Soon, Su Ping noticed that the density of astral power inside the original cause in his cells was increasing. Previously, it was pitch dark in the original cause with some feeble astral power drifting. At the moment, the amount increased more than 100 times and they had formed wisps of astral power. This one pellet's effect is equal to when I cultivate for hundreds of days. Su Ping's eyes glowed brightly. He closed his eyes instantly and focused his mind on the original cause in the cells. He transformed the astral power into belts of energy and wove them together into an hourglass-shaped vortex base. Too little astral power to form a vortex. Su Ping took another original force pellet without hesitation. The astral power inside the original cause in his cells increased and were surging in wisps. Su Ping gathered the astral power into the hourglass-shaped vortex and arranged it as the outside wall of the vortex. Halfway through, the astral power ran out again. He made a determined effort and took the last of the original force pellets. Soon, while the original force pellet had been seemingly burnt up, the rich astral power was injected into all of the original cause in the cells. With one gesture, Su Ping finished the walls of the vortices. Buzzing! All of a sudden, Su Ping felt his body tremble, as if he had bumped against the world. An unprecedented powerful force came from all over his body and then it flooded to reach every part. He felt as if he could tear a tiger into pieces. In his body, there was a petite vortex in each of the original cores of the cells. They were swirling slowly in the darkness of the original cores. A strong force would be generated with each swirl. Su Ping felt a continuous flow of strength. Also, the feeble astral power that adhered to his skin like specks of dust were being pulled into the original cores by the vortices. Slow like a turtle, the vortices were growing. Chapter 38, Information Interface. Could it be said that I somehow managed to reach the star vortex state? Su Ping forced a small smile as he saw this tiny star vortex in the original course. His vortices were poles asunder from the star vortices depicted in the chaos star chart. At the true star vortex state, the star vortices would stretch to every corner of the original cause like a hurricane. Each of his star vortices looked more like a small galaxy in a dark, empty universe with large areas to extend to. That being said, while those were small star vortices, features of the star vortex state had already manifested. His body would absorb the surrounding astral power automatically and at all times, to fill in the energy consumed in his daily life and to slowly develop his cultivation. Of course, compared to when he was cultivating proactively, such development was nothing. On the other hand, many a little makes a mickle. Indirectly, this was speeding up his cultivation as well. There's a big room for improvement. While I haven't reached the star vortex state, my body has been strengthened several times. Su Ping felt the strength surging within him was definitely more powerful when compared to average people. His sight had been enhanced. He was able to see in a pitch-dark environment, even the pet foods tags and prices on the shelves were visible, and that wasn't something an average person could achieve. I wonder which rank I have reached as a battle pet warrior. First rank, I suppose? Su Ping thought. The host's information interface has been unlocked. The host can check his personal status through this property interface, the system mentioned casually, and somehow, Su Ping felt the system was disdaining him. Su Ping raised his eyebrows. He had gotten used to the system's blatant eavesdropping. He knew that this system was not the respectable or honest kind. Luckily, its abilities were commendable. Interface. Su Ping said the word on his mind and a virtual panel hopped out in his sight. Su Ping. Property, human. Rank, initial success of the star vortex state. Combat strength, 3.5. Score? Abilities mastered, killing intent. That was it? Su Ping didn't know what to make of this crude panel. He was a bit relieved when he saw that he was ranked at the initial success of the star vortex state, though. That was to say, he had indeed reached the star vortex state. A combat strength of 3.5. Did I reach the standard for third-rank battle pet warriors with my strength? This was a surprise to Su Ping. If this was the truth, he was indeed powerful. He had never cultivated before, it had been his first try that day. The 3 original force pellets he consumed had to be potent. It could be said that each of the original force pellets had added 1 point of combat strength to his power, and each pellet consumed meant climbing 1 more rank. He could be compared favorably with many college students in famous academies after having leapt to the 3rd rank from 0 when he had just awoken. No wonder original force pellets are only effective to low-rank battle pet warriors. The pellet can help a person rise in rank directly. Su Ping exclaimed to himself how mighty the system was. Finishing such a difficult task had turned out to be worthwhile. Anyways, what is this score about? Why are there question marks in it? Su Ping noticed the score row. When he was accepting quests, he had heard the system mention something about the score. If he didn't reach the passing line, he would be eliminated. This property was of vital importance. Only the system can check the host score, it replied calmly. Su Ping was speechless. The system had such a domineering personality. It was too bossy. All of a sudden, Su Ping felt his interface's format looked familiar. It was like the pet's interface. No, the 2 interfaces were essentially identical. Other than having aptitude instead of score, nothing else changed. Am I also a pet in your eyes? Su Ping could not believe it. The system appeared to have vanished. It did not reply. Is it? Su Ping could not help but ask again. Still, 0 replies. Damn it! Su Ping stood up at once, hopping mad. I treat you as a legitimate system and you treat me as a pet. I hash yuan %. First time. Now you talk, heh? I hash yuan. Second time. What? You don't even say alert anymore? *T. Buzzing, buzzing. Electric arcs danced in the dark shop. The once active figure turned stiff, twitched and fell to the ground. Su Ping was groaning. To H*L with you? First time? Su decided to keep quiet. As the dull pain faded away slowly, Su Ping crawled up and sat down in sadness. He wanted to take out a cigarette from his pocket, only to realize that he didn't buy a pack. He heaved a sigh. I know that you're not going to show me. But at the very least you should tell me, how close am I from being eliminated? The host doesn't have to worry. The passing score is 60 and the warning line is 70. The system will alarm the host when the score drops to 70. Currently, the host is doing well. Su Ping was relieved. There was a 10-point buffer in the score. That was good. Su Ping got up and looked at the time. He knew that it was already 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. when he came back from the chaotic realm of the undead. It was 11 p.m. by then. Having been lost in cultivation, before he realized it, 4 hours had passed. I should head back. My mom will be worried if I am too late. Su Ping patted the dust off his pants, packed his stuff, opened the shutter door, and headed home. His mother Li Qingru was the only one sitting in the living room by the time he arrived. Be quiet, Li Qingru whispered to Su Ping once she heard him coming in. Your sister is cultivating upstairs. She's contending in the academy tournament these days. Don't disturb her. Oh. Su Ping nodded. I'm starving. Wash up first. I will heat the dishes for you. Thank you. While she wasn't his biological mother in the real sense, Su Ping felt she was kind and friendly. Everything was beautiful, except that. Mom, why is there only green pepper in the diced chicken dish? Nonsense. There's some chicken in there. The rest was eaten by your sister. Mom, where are there only potatoes and fat meat in this stewed pork with brown sauce? Your sister is busy cultivating. She needs nutrients. Then, what do I have left? Here's a plate of vegetables. Su Ping dragged himself upstairs to his room, physically and emotionally exhausted. He wasn't able to relax even once since he came back from the chaotic realm of the undead. I should cultivate for a bit. I'll be able to sleep soundly when I'm done. With a natural and unrestrained move, Su Ping threw himself to the cozy bed. He closed his eyes and felt the astral power around him. All of a sudden, he sensed that the scope of perception had extended far beyond the 2-meter radius compared to when he was cultivating before. His consciousness became a sphere that spread out. He could see all the astral power floating in the air. What? Su Ping noticed all of a sudden that the astral power was being pulled out of his room. His consciousness followed the astral power. He saw that all the astral power was pouring into the room across the hallway. That was his sister Su Lingyue's room. Chapter 39, Stealing Knowledge. Is she still cultivating? Su Ping thought of an idea. His consciousness sneaked in quietly. The astral power seeped into Su Lingyue's room from the cracks in the walls and doors like quicksand. The astral power in the other rooms were floating faster, converging like a vortex. The center of the convergence was a slim figure that could be faintly seen amid the astral power. It was none other than Su Lingyu. Is she also lying on her bed to cultivate? Su Ping raised his eyebrows as he saw the figure outlined by the astral power. Right then, Su Ping noticed that her sister was using a completely different way to absorb astral power. Inside Su Lingyue's room, she was like the bottom of an hourglass. All the astral power that flew into her room were pulled over, gradually forming a vortex. The closer the astral power was to her, the faster they would spin. Eventually, all the astral power was sucked in by her body. She's absorbing faster and in a larger amount. Is she controlling the speed of absorption? Is this what they learn at the Academy of Astral Pets? Su Ping had tried many methods but failed to hasten the absorption of astral power. He had assumed that the speed could never be altered. However, Su Lingyue's cultivation revealed to him something new. While surprised, Su Ping began to examine her ways closely. Soon, Su Ping noticed that the major location where the astral power was absorbed into was the dantian in her abdomen. Inside her dantian, there was a small astral power vortex. This astral power vortex was spinning quickly, creating a strong pull which made the astral power outside of her spin as well. That was how the large vortex outside of her came into being. The pull of this external vortex could influence a large area. The astral power that was beyond the reach of her consciousness could be pulled over as well. They would fly over and become a part of the external vortex, to be rapidly absorbed by Su Lingyu. It's because of the pull. Su Ping stumbled with the fact. How easy it was. How come he didn't think of it before? Indeed, his consciousness could not control the astral power roaming outside, only the astral power inside of him. Let me have a try. Su Ping retracted his consciousness back to his room, limiting the reach of his consciousness to his bed. He controlled all the vortices inside all the original cores in his cells to spin around quickly. Buzzing. All of a sudden, it was as if a hurricane had sprung up by his bed out of nowhere. The bedsheet started to float as a result. The free astral power that was floating towards Su Lingyue's room was disturbed at once. It was disorderly sneaking into Su Ping's body in a state of feverish chaos. What? Su Ping was surprised. He stopped the spinning at once. The astral power is in chaos. Is it because there are too many pulling sources making a mess? Su Ping frowned. All the vortices spinning around in his original cores was confusing the subtle astral power. After some thought, Su Ping decided to copy Su Lingyue's method, creating a large vortex in a place inside his body. Whoosh! The astral power that was slowly moving towards Su Lingyue's room stopped all of a sudden. Under some pulling effect, the astral power turned around and flew towards Su Ping's dantian in his abdomen while moving in a vortex shape. Got it! Su Ping was glad to feel the vortex structure outside his body. At the moment, he noticed that all the astral power from Su Lingyue's room was being pulled away, wisp by wisp. The pull of my vortex is stronger than hers. Su Ping was surprised. He stopped at once. What? While in her room, lying in bed as she was cultivating and reading at the same time, Su Lingyu was startled by a sudden tremor in the astral power vortex outside of her. When she stopped to pay closer attention, the vortex had already returned to normal. She thought she was having an illusion. Strange. Su Lingyu was confused, but she didn't think too much into it since things had returned to normal. She held onto a throw pillow and snowball to get back inside the world of her book. It wasn't a boring reading material, or else she wouldn't have continued reading by lamplight. It was one of her favorite youth comics with righteous order stories. Different from other girls, she had no interest in romance TV, movies, or comics. After all, with such a lousy brother, any fantasy she had about boys had been shattered entirely. Didn't she feel it? Su Ping noticed no reaction from his sister. He blinked. Such being the case, he could try out something else. Having observed the cultivation methodology Su Lingyu had learned in the academy, Su Ping's mind was wide open in the field of cultivation of astral power. Since he could create a vortex inside him to absorb and cultivate astral power, maybe he could create a reverse vortex. He wondered what that would do. Let's see. With the experience of cultivating the Chaos Star chart, Su Ping had become quite skilled in creating vortices. He controlled the reaching scope of his consciousness around him to no further than the bed. Then, he quickly reversed the spinning direction of the vortex. Soon, there was one more vortex in his dantian. This vortex was not pulling astral power in. Instead, the vortex was pushing the astral power away. He was inside an area void of astral power. Just as I thought. Su Ping was pretty much right. He was excited. While the power-free area seemed to be useless, this was a successful attempt. The astral power being pushed away was flying to Su Lingyue's room faster than before, which was surprising to Su Ping. He had a fresh idea in his mind. If so, with two vortices. Su Ping blinked. His idea was difficult, but that made it a challenge. He resorted to action at once. First, he would start with a small-scale attempt. Soon, Su Ping created two vortices inside him, one in front, one at the back, one spinning forward, and the other in the reverse direction. In the air outside the wall behind him, a large amount of free astral power was pulled into his back, but he did not absorb it. It was released from his chest. His body was like a bridge where astral power converged, to later deliver it in wisps. The astral power that had been compressed inside Su Ping became more concentrated, and it was being pulled into the vortex inside Su Lingyue's room. Hey! Su Lingyu, who was reading the comics, suddenly felt a spread of warmth in her stomach. It was quite comfortable. She felt warm all around her body, as if she were in a hot spring. She couldn't help but hum in comfort. As the sound came out from her mouth, she came back to her senses. She tried to feel it carefully. To her surprise, she was surrounded by this warmth because the astral power became more profound by several times all of a sudden. What is going on? Su Lingyu sat up, shocked. How come the astral power became richer all of a sudden? Chapter 40, Daily Life. It's working. Su Ping sensed that the wisps of astral power that had been compressed by him were absorbed by Su Lingyu. That compressed astral power was more condensed than the drifting astral power. As such, Su Ping was helping others to improve their astral power cultivation. He had mastered another skill, but the effect is just as I have imagined. But this ability is of absolutely no use. I cannot even satisfy my own cultivation needs. Why would I have time to feed others like a fool? Su Ping shook his head. He stopped the export of astral power from the vortex in his chest. Did it stop? Su Lingyu was about to stand up and check when she noticed that the richness of astral power in her room had returned to normal. That, she did not expect. I have heard from my teacher that the astral power around some powerful experts is incredibly strong. Did a powerful person walk past the window just now? Su Lingyu was surprised. She got up and lifted the curtain with cartoon bears, then she opened the window to look outside. Their house was by the road. It was the dead of night, nobody was walking in the street. Su Lingyu was confused. She paid closer attention. The astral power had returned normal, so she failed to pick up any clues. He must have left. Su Lingyu was disappointed and frustrated. The ones that could increase the richness of astral power around them were the best battle pet warriors. They were idols admired by many. It was a pity that she had missed seeing such powerful warriors who had passed by her window. But there will be a day when I will become one of the best powerful warriors. Su Lingyu promised herself with her chin raised. Then, she closed the curtains, hopped onto her bed, and let herself sink back into her comics. Let's try vortex synchronization. In his room, Su Ping tried out many ways to cultivate. It was the first time he had experienced astral power and he was very interested in it. He tested out many different ideas, abandoning himself to the pleasure of it. Halfway through, Su Ping noticed that Su Lingyu seemed to have stopped in the room across the hall. She must have fallen asleep. Su Ping looked at the time. It was late, 2 in the morning. I should turn in as well or I won't be able to get up tomorrow. I can try more things when I get to the store. Su Ping yawned and stopped trying new things. He created a regular vortex inside of him to continue the common way of cultivation. At the same time, he took out his phone and searched for some lousy movies to lull himself to sleep. In less than 5 minutes, he had fallen asleep. Time to get up, an overly sweet and sexy voice said to him. Su Ping opened his eyes slowly. He saw some light. The day had come. He rubbed his eyes and turned around toward the voice. A ghost face with blood all over it leaped into his eyes. Compared with before, this ghost face was bleeding more violently and there seemed to be some maggots crawling. Did she have to be so disgusting so early in the morning? Is she trying to affect my appetite so she can eat my breakfast? Having experienced the chaotic realm of the undead, Su Ping had become immune to such stuff. Compared to the strange things in the chaotic realm of the undead, this ghost face was beautiful enough to feast the eyes. More. Su Ping threw the ghost a kiss. Gee! It wasn't the voice of a question, but the sound of contempt. Su Ping raised his eyebrows and threw a look at the girl by the door. Can't you make something new? Aren't you bored? Disgusting. Su Lingyu gave him a scornful stare. How could he accept this? He was a pervert indeed. Su Ping rolled his eyes as he noticed how she disliked him. Why couldn't he give that ghost face a kiss when you made your phantom flame beast become that ghost face? Could you be reasonable? Su Ping was not in the mood to bicker with her. He resorted to the ultimate skill to get rid of her. He lifted his quilt and said, I slept in the nude. Him. All he heard was a sneer. Su Ping was surprised. It's not like I haven't seen it before. What's the big deal of sleeping nude? Su Lingyu did not care. Su Ping was embarrassed. His head was buzzing. She had seen it? When was that? Why was there no memory of it at all in the original owner's head? Right. They ran around naked when they were kids. You still remember that thing when we were so young. Su Ping was astounded. Do you think that my head is like your pig's head? I am a genius. A genius, do you understand? Su Lingyu sneered. She waved her hand. A black ball snuck out from his bed. It was that phantom flame beast named Snowball. The phantom flame beast crawled up with effort. It glared at Su Ping and then hopped back onto Su Lingyu's shoulder. Slam. Su Lingyu turned around and slammed the door shut. It seems like compromise is no longer working? Do I have to return violence with violence? Su Ping looked at the trembling door. He shook his head and heaved a sigh. By the time he got dressed and went downstairs for breakfast, Su Lingyu had almost finished hers. Yeah, have you finished breakfast? Hurry up. We need to leave now. Some girls were saying outside the door. Su Ping raised his eyebrows. He saw 3 girls about the same age as Su Lingyu. Her classmates for sure. Coming. Su Lingyu put on her coat very quickly. Su Ping frowned. The voice Su Lingyu used was completely different when she talked to him, rude to say the least. At the moment, her voice was refreshing, soft and pleasant at the same time. Anyone would picture her as a polite, fair lady by the sound of her voice alone. Soon, Su Lingyu changed her clothes and left with her classmates. They had stepped into the yard but Su Ping could still hear them. After all, he no longer had the constitution of an average person. His hearing was quite acute. Is he that good-for-nothing brother you told us about? He appears to be dispirited. He looks useless but is handsome. Yeah, your family has such nice genes. The girls were chatting. Dispirited? Su Ping was speechless. What made you think I was dispirited? Those people didn't even have the basic ability of proper judgment, but their aesthetic judgment was godly. As such, they could be forgiven. This sister of mine is quite popular amongst my classmates. But that is just a false appearance. Only I know about her true self. Su Ping snorted. He finished up his breakfast quickly, bade farewell to his mother, and rode to the store. At the store, Su Ping asked the system to evaluate all the pet food he brought back from the chaotic realm of the undead. That included the blood-red bead he snatched from the throne of bones. The pet food came in many different sorts, but the system had no difficulty in identifying them. Soon, the price list was presented to him. Many good items. Su Ping didn't know all the items, but he could recognize their value just from the pricing. The average price was around 700 to 800 coins. Only a few had a price lower than 500 coins. Of course, there were a couple of food items that were of little value, with a price of merely a few dozen coins.